Most people totally misunderstand AJ's storyline. Here's why you've got the whole thing wrong. Welcome to Sopranos Breakdown. I'm Matthew. Together, we'll dive deep into the world of Tony, Carmela, and the rest of the crew, uncovering hidden details and exploring the deeper meanings behind every episode. If you love The Sopranos, do me a favor, smash that like button so more fans can find this content. All right, let's get started.
Van Helsing, let's go.
AJ was really about to hook up with a high school junior at 21. That pretty much confirms he wasn't the most emotionally developed guy. Not exactly a criminal mastermind either, definitely not cut out to be a fat Jersey crook. And don't even think about getting him see-through socks for Christmas. But give him credit, he did have the makings of a varsity athlete. You saw him dive for that fumble. Effort, heart, confusion. He's a good kid, capable. In 3 months, he'll probably be managing a day shift somewhere, maybe yelling at someone over expired coupons. But still, he's got potential. The world, meanwhile, is deeply messed up. Picture a couple sharing pizza under string lights, while somewhere else a 21-year-old man is picking up a high school girl with loud music and a BMW. Children could be curled up in leaf piles.
Oh, the catalytic converter in the dry vegetation.
I didn't see the leaves.
You can grill fucking steaks on a converter.
Someone's grilling steaks on a catalytic converter. It's chaos. And apparently, that converter gets hotter than a hibachi. Medium rare? A touch of class. AJ gets scolded, then ends up in weirdly surreal situations. That's his whole thing. He's a walking contradiction. Mentally stuck at 16, giggling in his underwear, wearing a Van Helsing shirt, thinking he's deep. He wasn't out trolling high schools. He met her in a psychiatric facility. They bonded over trauma, not algebra. It's not a great look, 21 and dating someone still in high school, but it wasn't unprecedented, especially a few decades ago, when that sort of thing was far more normalized. Sophomore girls dating guys in their mid-20s? It happened. People went to prom with grown men in suits. It was questionable, sure, but not shocking. In this case, it's likely she was 17, maybe even 18. Especially if she missed time in school. And the law in New Jersey? The age of consent is 16. Factor in the relatively small age gap, and you're looking at something more immature than illegal. AJ didn't have predatory intentions. He wasn't cruising the school parking lot in search of teenagers. He was emotionally stunted, socially confused, and deeply reliant on his mother, who was still dressing him and fixing his plate at public events. That says more about him than the girl's age ever could.
The kid spends every night at some fucking club in New York. Sleeps till noon, puts in a couple hours at Blockbuster.
Compare that to what else was going on. Clubs filled with barely legal dancers, fake IDs gliding past bouncers, older men with no shortage of young company. That world didn't exactly run on ethics. So if the idea of AJ dating a high school junior sets off alarm bells, maybe take a step back and remember the context. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's immature. But in the grand scheme of that world, it's barely a blip. Meadow Soprano, victim, hero, or the real problem hiding behind the mob's myth. Meadow's dismissal of Finn's very real fears about Vito, only to casually reveal what she perceived as harmless gossip, is a disturbingly accurate portrayal of her character's development. The irony is palpable. Vito, the same man she reduces to a punchline in see-through socks, is the one who murdered her previous boyfriend. This scene reflects Meadow's trajectory, from moral discomfort with her father's criminal life to outright rationalization and defense of it. Early on, she expresses discomfort and even rebellion, her initial horror at Jackie Jr.'s death, her desire to escape to Europe, her criticisms of her father's world. But something changes after Jackie. That moral clarity begins to erode, replaced by a kind of calculated denial. One of the most revealing moments is Meadow's outrage over Johnny Sack having to pay for the federal marshals at his daughter's wedding.
I'm Deputy Fee of the U.S. Marshal Service. It's my partner, Deputy Mayweather. We're here to escort you to the wedding today.
Allegra Sacramone getting married. Were we not just at her christening?
Her disbelief, the government made him do that, illustrates just how deeply she has internalized the victim narrative of organized crime. The idea that a mob boss, worth millions in illicit income, should bear the cost of his own security while on trial for murder is somehow offensive to her. It speaks to a dangerous inversion of morality, where the real injustice would apparently be expecting taxpayers to fund such a spectacle. This kind of thinking is emblematic of her transformation. Meadow starts using the language of social justice and liberal idealism not to critique the criminal world she comes from, but to defend it. She leans on ideas like cultural persecution and regional poverty to reframe organized crime as a form of resistance or even heroism. It's intellectually hollow, but emotionally convenient. Her education at an elite liberal arts college only deepens this contradiction. Meadow surrounds herself with idealists and activists, but her own lifestyle is funded by violence, exploitation, and extortion. Like many privileged students, she adopts the rhetoric of reform while remaining unwilling or unable to critique the systems that benefit her directly. Her version of leftism never requires personal sacrifice, just clever rationalizations. This duality becomes most visible in her treatment of others. When she speaks to Kelly April at AJ's funeral, the condescension is striking. The look on her face, the patronizing tone. It's a masterclass in self-deception. By then, Meadow has fully embraced the family's myth of persecution, using it to shut down any inconvenient truths. Her response is less about mourning and more about performance, about maintaining the image she's constructed of her family as misunderstood underdogs rather than dangerous criminals. Finn, in contrast, is painfully out of place. His decision to tell Meadow what he saw Vito doing, what he knew it meant, is an act of trust, fear, and honesty. Meadow's reaction is to gaslight him. She doesn't just downplay the danger, she reinterprets the entire situation in a way that absolves her family and mocks Finn's fear. It's cruel and revealing. The absurdity of their relationship becomes even clearer in the argument that ends with Finn proposing, not out of love, but sheer exhaustion. He was worn down, psychologically cornered, and trying to survive. Their dynamic lacked any sense of genuine compatibility or emotional safety. Meadow, by that point, had made her choice. The transformation is complete, from conflicted daughter of a mob boss to a willing and articulate defender of the family. Her intellectualism, once a tool for questioning her world, becomes a shield to protect it. Here's the truth they don't want you to realize about Tony's "I took an oath" line. It's not bad writing, it's a window into his unraveling mind.
Well, what about Richie? He must be devastated.
Richie's gone.
What do you mean, gone?
Gone.
It's honestly kinda wild how Tony just flat out tells Carmela Richie's gone. Like, Jesus Christ, Carm, after 15 years of marriage, don't make me turn you into an accessory after the fact.
And I took an oath. That was a sacred oath.
That line always throws me. So blunt, no filter. Kind of like when he's in the hospital after the failed hit and drops, "I took an oath." That's some first season Tony right there. Later seasons, not so much. Either they wanted him to sound more authentic, or it's just sloppy writing. Back then, Tony trusted Carmela more, before the divorce. After, not so much. Plus, he's climbing higher in the food chain, seeing family snitch on family, makes him both reckless and paranoid, a classic basket case by the finale. All his old morals, gone. He's seen how fast everything he worked for could crumble. Perfect recipe for paranoid meltdown. And come on, after Pussy started his own gossip column, Tony couldn't trust anyone. What is he, a kid in a treehouse? Honestly, when you start questioning stuff like this, 99 times out of 100, it's just shoddy writing. Or maybe not even shoddy. The show just didn't sweat the small stuff. Continuity? Mafia procedure? Nah. It was all about the drama and style to cap off killer episodes and arcs. We probably overthink it because we've seen it a million times. Season 1 had some classic campy moments, like I took an oath, straight out of a generic mob movie. They were ironing out wrinkles. Even later, when Richie or Feech popped up, their corny lines made sense. They were stuck in the 70s. That's just how those guys talked. Also, let's be honest, great writing doesn't mean flawlessly weaving a million plot threads or planting Easter eggs everywhere. Sometimes it's just happy accidents or coincidences. That doesn't mean it's shoddy. Good writing knows how much detail to throw in without going overboard. Like in the finale, people analyze every diner patron as some symbol, the members-only jacket guy, the black guys as reps of criminal contacts, the family guy. I doubt all that was planned, but the writing was precise enough to make those connections feel legit. That's the beauty of it. Yeah, I took an oath is cheesy, but hey, first season. This show wouldn't be legendary if the writing was anything less than top tier. They just didn't focus on plot minutiae like a procedural would. And to all who think they get the mafia family dynamics, please. Humans are messy and screwed up. Look, Tony telling Carmela Ritchie's gone was straight up real human stuff. Everyone knows, but sometimes you gotta spell it out. Carm knew what she signed up for, just like her dad Hugh. The show nailed that tension perfectly. Tony was probably in shock too. Richie just got out of jail, a pain in the ass, but not totally wrong about some beefs, just handled poorly. Tony likely had him on the hit list anyway. When Janice suddenly kills Richie, Tony's relief is louder than his shock. And yeah, Tony couldn't lie to Carmela about it. After the call, he's stressed, bounces out, Janice disappears, and Richie's never heard from again. Classic mob housekeeping. The wives definitely know more than they let on. When Chrissy got made, everyone knew. Pussy vanished with the Tony and Sil in front of Angie. No way she didn't know. But Angie? She knew, but didn't care. Hell, she probably wanted him dead. Carmela calling Janice's house, checking up on Tony. That's peak paranoid mafia wife behavior. Tony prefers being honest with Carm because otherwise he'd have to deal with her nagging while she fiddles with the air conditioner. About that whole cut his dick off threat? Nah, just a lithium dream. Carmela never really said it. Tony's guilty or scared enough of a John and Lorena Bobbitt situation to joke about it. Her reaction to all this, pure Falco brilliance. She tosses Richie's death into the stuff I refuse to think about bin, like it's just another Vegas drunken wedding gone wrong. Smart move. No need to piss off Tony. And secretly she's relieved Richie's out of the picture. Sometimes in this world, telling the truth is a courtesy. Sometimes a lie is like when Tony never told Chrissy he killed Ralphie. It was kinder that way. Tony telling Carm Richie was gone was both a courtesy and a warning. Don't ask too many questions. She already knew too much, from Richie to Irina. And the accessory after the fact line? Game over. Even the boss can't resist a little family gossip, especially about his annoying sister. Bottom line, Tony was just tired. Dealing with Janice, Livia, and cleaning up bodies left him with zero energy for lies. Janice did the dirty work. Tony just cleaned up. It wasn't mafia style. It was messy family drama. Self-defense turned deadly. Neither Tony nor Carmela liked Janice, so no tears there. And while Pussy was AJ's godfather and Aid was family, Richie, forget him. He's gone. Tony was honest with Carmela because he didn't see the point in lying. The crime stuff wasn't exactly secret. It just wasn't openly discussed. That's the messy, beautiful, brutal truth of the Sopranos world. Everyone thinks Chris killed JT because he's a cold-blooded killer. But the real reason will make you rethink everything you know about loyalty and betrayal in The Sopranos. Why did Chris kill JT Dolan? Because he realized that being in the mafia didn't just ostracize him, it ostrofit him. Yes, that's the joke. Chris messes up ostracized because that's just who he is. The mob didn't care about him, and worse, they were degrading his daughter. The people who were supposed to have his back treated him like trash. His marriage was a sham. He sold out Adriana, and he had no real connections. His life was meaningless, so he struck out at JT. Chris didn't care about implicating himself. This was pure emotion. He came to JT because he had no one else. Tony, Paulie, and the others treated him like garbage.
Hey, Chris, you're in the mafia.
JT was the only person he thought he could open up to. And then JT drops the bomb. You're in the mafia. That hit forced Chris to face the brutal reality of his life and what all his problems boiled down to. So Chris lashes out at the guy who made him see it. It's funny how The Sopranos barely ever uses the word mafia until this moment. The guys prefer euphemisms like this thing, our thing, or la cosa nostra, which only appears once in the finale. Saying mafia means admitting they're criminals, and none of them want to admit that, even to themselves. When JT finally says it, it's like ripping off a bandage. Everyone else shrugs it off or avoids it, but Chris can't. Chris was proud to be in the mafia. Being a killer gave him status and a sense of manhood. But when JT calls it out, it reminds him he's trapped in a brutal life with no way out. It's no coincidence Chris kills JT right after. This is the final step. No Hollywood dreams, no legit future, just the mafia grind. He accepts it and then dies in the next episode. Not a coincidence. The killing wasn't about logic or need. It was pure impulse from a broken man who felt abandoned by everyone, including the one person he thought he could trust.
I'm gonna make some coffee, and then we're gonna call your sponsor.
He's gone, Eddie. He's away someplace, Philadelphia.
JT tries to help with coffee, calls, sponsors, normal help. But Chris deflects. He's not looking for rehab. He's drowning in mafia despair. When JT bluntly points out, "You're in the mafia," Chris snaps and kills him. This pattern fits the show's theme. Sociopaths who explode violently when forced to confront their own darkness. Tony kills Ralphie because Ralphie forces him to admit he's just as bad. Chris hates himself for not following his dreams and sinking deeper into crime. But he avoids that truth until JT forces it on him. Then violence is all he has left. Chris kills JT because he's jealous, angry, and broken. JT was his last real connection, and that connection told him he's nothing more than a mobster. So Chris destroys it and seals his fate. Stop praising Tony Soprano as the best character. There's someone way more deserving. And it's not who you think who's the best person in The Sopranos. Charmaine Bucco stands out, a straight shooter who always kept Artie grounded when he needed it. She knew The Sopranos were trouble and ran a successful, legit restaurant. Meanwhile, Artie had a gorgeous wife who put up with all his nonsense, yet he still managed to make himself miserable.
Is that an earring? Your ear, I never noticed before.
Trying to act like a mobster, sleeping with hostesses, trying to make them his goomas, and even attempting suicide after a disastrous loan shark roleplay involving a stupid earring. Gotta love Artie. He's lovable, but endlessly frustrating with his antics. Can't just appreciate what he's got. Tony's sister, Barb, is another interesting character. It would have been fascinating to explore what it's like being related to a mob family, but not part of it. The challenges, advantages, and her relative normalcy compared to Tony and Janice could have added depth. She cut the family off, contrasting with Janice, who keeps dragging herself back, and Tony, who's stubbornly loyal. Her character offers a fresh perspective rarely seen in the series. Regarding therapists, Melfi's role is complex. While she is often criticized, her motivations for keeping Tony as a client are layered, sometimes selfish. Later in the series, her character arc feels underdeveloped, and scenes involving her and Elliot become awkward and unprofessional, undermining her usually sharp persona.
Your mobster friend gonna do something crazy?
Charmaine deserves credit for openly rejecting involvement in mob affairs, refusing to profit or be complicit. That integrity is rare in this world. Johnny Cakes was generally a decent man, the old pizza guy, loyal but occasionally overstepping. Svetlana, on the other hand, was straightforward and unafraid to reject Tony's needy advances, which was a refreshing role reversal. Though she cheated on her fiancé with Tony, she clearly set boundaries. Ralphie displayed surprising decency at times, giving space to Ro after her son's death, respecting Native American traditions, and even quitting cocaine when it clouded his judgment. Not a saint, but he showed moments of humanity. Bobby Bacala also stands out as a sympathetic figure, caught between loyalty and the violent world he inhabits. Furio is a solid example of a mafioso, respectful to his superiors, loyal and restrained in personal conduct. He gracefully stepped away from his feelings for the boss's wife, instead of acting on them, showing rare self-control. Tragedy touches many characters, like Vito's children, innocent victims of their parents' lives. The gay firefighter faces Tony's racist hostility despite being an honest man. Ginny Sack wisely ended things with AJ before he could exploit her. AJ himself becomes selfish, spoiled, and violent, a deeply flawed character by the series' end. Ultimately, if picking the best, Charmaine and Melfi stand out, with honorable mentions to Little Carmine and Bobby for their redeeming qualities. The series thrives on complex, flawed individuals, which is its greatest strength. You like horses? Me neither, but you know what I do like? Likes, subs, and spicy little comment sections. Don't be shy. Get in there and stir some sauce.